Right, so let's open this bag up and take out my portable studio piece by piece. First off, no portable studio would be functional without a hub, and my hub is my i7 HP ZBOOK laptop, which has a 500GB SSD, 16GB of RAM, a single Thunderbolt port, 2 USB ports, SD card slot, which is crucial for exporting video from my Canon and audio from my wireless microphone, and also a webcam for taking any video calls or recording a podcast episode remotely. Either way, this laptop cost me £210 all in on eBay, and I specifically bought this for the i7V Pro, which has enough processing power to export my Filmora edits without taking hours, and also runs my Studio One sessions without crapping out too quickly either. I know many people will recommend Apple MacBooks and stuff, but for a decent MacBook Pro with the same specs, you'd be looking at least double what I paid, and to be honest, I'd much rather have a laptop that can be easily replaced or modified if need be. Right, next up we are going to need something to listen to our audio on. You basically have two options: headphones, which come in the form of open or closed back, or alternatively in-ear monitors. Many will go for closed back headphones, I find, normally for comfort over IEMs and also less leakage over open backs. But for me personally, I've mixed on closed backs in the past and I don't really enjoy the listening experience due to the increased bass response. However, I do still use them for tracking in my fixed home studio. Now, you can use custom EQ calibration to counter the big bass bump for mixing, but after trying out MOONDROP's ARIA Snow, I can definitely say that I prefer to mix on a good pair of in-ear monitors as opposed to mixing on a cheap pair of closed backs. With the buds going directly into the ear canal, I personally find that the ARIAs are clearer, and to be honest, many moan about the bass response of in-ear monitors, but I actually feel that the frequency response is pretty well balanced in the Snow, and as much as it may be a little bit hyped in the upper mid-range, it is actually a good indication of whether something is too harsh in a mix, as Pro mixes do sound really well balanced and clear without harshness on them, but it doesn't leave too much wiggle room for more mid-push, which has its downsides for casual listening, but a positive for mixing in my opinion. Now, once you've got your portable monitoring picked, it's then a good idea to look at a decent portable DAC amp. Now, many will go for a bus-powered interface as it covers monitoring as well as recording, but for those who are purely mixing, lugging about an interface can be a bit bulky and, dependent on the size, can be a bit of a squeeze when on trains, planes, buses, etc, etc. And this is where a budget DAC amp can be a great solution, and after I bought my Topping DX7 Pro Plus for my main home studio reference, I noticed that Topping had just released their DX1, which at £82 is an absolute bargain. There's been a lot of talk about this little unit, as even though it's smaller than my wallet, genuinely, it still delivers a dynamic range of 120 dB, DAC distortion levels as low as 0.0006, 0.5 ohm headphone output impedance, which means that it won't affect frequency response and linearity with any headphone regardless of impedance, and on top of that, it also has the power to easily drive low and high impedance headphones. It's USB powered with low and high gain modes, and it just sounds amazing considering the price. But being critical, I would say soundstage isn't as good as I'd like, and the bass isn't as powerful as my DX7 Pro Plus, but with a fast transient response and low distortion at loud levels, it produces a very neutral and pleasing sound to my ears. I've been using it now for about 6 weeks and I have had no issues whatsoever. You can even install a manual driver online for use in the DAW, and yeah, it's just been rock solid for me, and at £82, you'll struggle to beat that price all day long. However, the DX1 is monitoring only, so it doesn't cover recording, which is something you may require dependent on your circumstances. Now, I have two solutions for this. The first one is a USB-powered audio interface. I use the PRESONUS REVELATOR IO24, which was fixed in my studio for a while, until Universal Audio loaned me the Apollo X6 for doing my 500 series comparisons. Now, the reason I chose the Revelator over the Audient Evo 4, which is incredibly small for an interface, is because of the Revelator's real-time DSP, which I really like for recording purposes, especially on video calls or live streams. It's great because you have some of the fat channel built in, so you can get to track with a modelled 1176, LE2A, Pultec, gate, limiter, etc. Now, another big reason I chose the Revelator was due to its streaming capabilities. It has multiple stream mixes that are flawless for me when using Studio One with OBS, and it allows me to effortlessly route audio from varying places to stream mix A or B, and it just works on every platform I've used it on so far. Now, Audient also have loopback in their interfaces now, but I just prefer the overall package of the PRESONUS. It integrates with recording in Studio One, which is my DAW of choice, and I actually like the sound of it. I have no issue recording voiceovers or anything for that matter with this unit. Pretty small and compact size-wise, and it means that you can take a couple of studio mics with you and pretty much record anywhere you like with real-time DSP for £120. But what about if you don't want to constantly have your expensive studio mics sat in your bag waiting to be pinched or potentially damaged? What about if you can't take your mic stands with you? What about if you just want to quickly record your voice or go on a live stream or podcast without worrying about mic placement and space? And this is why I purchased the Rode Wireless Go 2 system last year. And believe me, it wasn't cheap either at 200 quid, but what it allows me to do is plug in the receiver to the laptop and use it as my main desktop microphone. This means I can simply place the transmitter on my person and do a video call without my audio sounding like absolute garbage, as well as feeling comfortable about having a mic'd up call in a busy environment. Now, I'm not going to include this in the budget, because if you've got the Wireless Go 2 system, then you don't need this, but over a year ago, maybe even longer, I was sent the LENSGO 348C to check out as I was considering selling the Wireless Go 2 because of the software issues. I personally use the 348C for all of my outside recording purely because I can record internally on just the transmitter, as it allows you to put in your own 32GB SD card without needing to use the receiver. This works really well for when you're working with others, as they can simply change your SD card with theirs, record, and then take their SD card back with them so they have the audio. And also, the LENSGO doesn't cut off as much high end as the Rode. For whatever reason, I don't know why, the Rode Wireless Go 2 has a really steep low pass filter, and it just makes vocal recording sound really dull to my ears. I think it was maybe to reduce wind noise, which is another issue, as the wind muff clip is so flimsy it falls off all the time, and I've nearly lost it on multiple occasions, where with the LENSGO, it's solid and properly clipped on the sides. And I also like how I can charge all of my LENSGO devices at once. So for outside work, I prefer the functionality and sound of the LENSGO 348C, but due to it not having software drivers, I can't use it as a desktop mic, which is a shame, as if it did have that function, I would punt the Rode Wireless Go 2 in a heartbeat. But for most of you, the Rode Wireless Go 2 is the better buy for all-round functionality. And to be honest, apart from that, I think that's all I need for a portable audio studio that genuinely fits in one bag. Let me know your thoughts down below, what you use when you're on the road, and if you have any recommendations, then feel free to comment down below. My name is Paul Third, and I'll see you when I see you.